Welcome to the Narrate podcast, where we aim to tell God's story with our lives. We'll be continuing to post the Sunday message each week, but we want to dive a little deeper and offer some content to supplement your life with God, and that's where our Beyond Sunday series comes in. Join Adam and Narrate staff as they provide thoughtful discussions, ideas, and interviews that go beyond the message you'll hear on Sunday.
So, I am chatting with Deb McNay today, and you're a longtime owner at Narrate. Yep. I think before me.
Yep.
Because I think you were here when I got hired in 2016.
Yeah, I think we started about 13 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe 13 and a half, because I didn't have the girls yet when we started.
Okay.
I actually did the slides.
And did
tech
team.
Tech team, yes.
Nice.
I did a lot of the tech and did slides a lot. Uh-huh. And I don't know what they have anymore, but back when I was doing it, you had to climb up this rickety old ladder, and it was like the screen was held by rope, and you had to lower the rope. And I did that up until I was basically told by, I think, Sarah, the first Sarah, I couldn't do it anymore because I was really pregnant and she was scared I was going to fall off the ladder. So I did that up until my girls until I went to bed rest up at Great Falls. So yeah, I did that for probably a good year and a half, wow. 2 years. And then had the girls, and that became kind of a harder thing to do with kids, is to be there for all the services. Mm-hmm. And back then it was 3 services, I think.
Oh, yeah, it would have been.
And so I was like...
That's a long morning.
That is a very long morning. And it, I was willing, but my husband was like, no, we have twins. This is not happening. Don't do it. Don't leave me alone with them. And so it was just, because it's hard getting them out the door in the morning. So when they were that little. So now it's a piece of cake because they're 12. So,
right.
The hardest thing is getting them out of bed. But yeah, so, and then the girls hit, I don't know, about 2.5, 3, and I figured out that I could usher.
Yeah.
And so that became what I do. Is I'm on the hospitality team and I usher, and that was because it's only one service, so it makes it really easy, and I don't have to try to be at 2 services when they were little, and I've just kind of stayed ushering.
Yeah.
So through a lot of changes through ushering until 2016 when you came in.
Well, and even since 2016, what changes have you seen? I mean, you've been around a long time.
We've had a lot of staff changes, which honestly, I've always enjoyed. Not the constant turnover, because I know that's stressful, but every person I feel that has come to the hospitality team or the music team have brought their own unique pieces. And I feel like that is something that I really have enjoyed about Narrate, is it's kind of we're going to grow and we're going to meet where we need to be. And when you don't fit that or feel like you fit that role anymore, we're going to be okay with you saying, hey, I don't think this works for me anymore. And that's something I've really enjoyed watching Narrate go through. Not gonna lie, there's been some stressful moments on the hospitality team where it was like, how is this gonna work? Because we don't have anybody. And but people have always stepped up and always have filled those roles where we needed them to. And it's been good to watch how much Narrate has grown into the community. When I first started, we had a few things here and there that we did volunteer-wise, but now it's a consistent thing from fall all the way through spring, where you can do some kind of volunteer almost every month, which has just been amazing to see, because being someone who has kids in the church, having a church that doesn't just say, you should go do this, you should be helpful. They actually do it, and they pull up alongside other people that need it, and they're willing to, step in those roles, is very unique. I feel to a lot of churches where it's you should go volunteer, you should be in the community, but we're not going to actually set up any opportunities for you to do that. You need to go find those. And Narrate gives you that opportunity to do that, which is just, as a parent, watching my kids see that in action is, there's just nothing you can compare to, because it's, I'm a firm believer in, you say what you're going to do and you actually do it, but your actions show it more than your words do. And so having those opportunities for my kids to see those. And see not just me and Aaron, but also, the pastor in the middle of it, and leaders of the church and friends of theirs and their youth group leaders all in it together. It's, that community feel is just really good.
Your girls, they're going into 7th grade?
Yes.
So they just recently came out of Narrate Kids, and now they're in the big church.
Yes.
How do they like it?
They're getting used to it.
We're probably not as fun upstairs.
Well, like they said, we're not as much fun, but they're like, but you're more mellow. Like, you don't have kids chasing you around. And I think that, like, my daughters are not those kids that, like, they're active, but they're very, like, I can sit still. And when kids around them can't sit still, it drives them a little batty. And so being in Narrate Kids with kindergarten through 5th grade, they come home sometimes, they're like, I couldn't hear the message. I was distracted by a kindergartner rolling on the floor. And I'm like, okay, that's legit. Like, that's fine. Like, okay. And I really don't think it was as dramatic as they make it, but kids tend to make it dramatic. But they really, I think they really enjoy the drinks. They enjoy
our secret hot chocolate and Izzy's.
Yeah, secret hot chocolate and Izzy's, and the option for hot tea.
Yes.
Which more times than not they go for the hot tea, which is kind of like, I did not expect that going into the last church. When I heard you got Izzy's and hot chocolate, I was like, oh yeah, that's where they're going. And they're like, nope, I want the peppermint tea. And I'm like,
oh, nice.
Okay, you want, or the Grey, like, they did Earl Grey one time, and I was like,
mixing it up.
Are you sure you're 12? Like, I don't know how many 12-year-olds drink Earl Grey. I could be wrong. Like, I don't have privy to a lot of 12-year-olds drinking tea, so I could be wrong.
Right.
But I don't know. They were like, we're just going to try Earl Grey. And I was like, do I have 12-year-olds or do I have little old ladies? I don't know.
And they go to Jake and Melissa's house from middle school, right?
They do.
Do they love it?
Oh, they love it. I mean, oh my gosh, they come out of youth group just, I mean, there's no other word than just to say jacked. Like, they are very loud, very talkative when they come out, which is a really good sign because it just means they've had a really good time. We have a little carpool that we switch off who drives. And so having 4 junior high kids in your car, it's very loud, very fast. But it's like when you pick them up and you take them there, it's kind of like this quiet little mellow, like they're talking, but they're not overly excited. And then they come out of youth group and it's like a whirlwind.
They love it.
They're just, we did this and we did that and then this happened. And the stories that they tell of, they're just junior high antics. God bless. And I mean, this is really like 100%, like, we are so blessed to have Jake and Melissa, because I don't know how many people could take on that many junior high kids in their house and give them sugar and try to teach them a lesson. And I mean, they have to do something there that just gets these kids just fired up and just so excited. And I don't know what it is, and I don't need to know what it is as a parent. I just love that community. I love the fact that they're building relationships with other people, because as a parent, that's one of my greatest fears is kids talk, and if they don't have the right influences around them, then the influences can create more problems. And so we've been very intentional of getting adults in their lives that they turn to when they don't want to come to mom and dad.
Yeah.
I would love to say that my kids are always going to come to mom and dad, but I was in junior high and high school, and there are things I didn't want to tell
your parents for that.
And so to have those adults in the mix that they trust, that they can go to, and then they have good friends that are going to steer them to go talk to those adults, or at least help guide them in a positive way. That has always been like a huge thing for me, because it's, you know, the world they're growing up in, and it's going to make me sound really old, but the world they're growing up in is not the world I did, you know? And
it's not.
And so it's so technology based that it's like they could be getting away with things I don't know, because I don't know technology that well. Mm-hmm. And having, you know, good influences that are going to be like, yeah, let's not be doing that, or hey, let's talk to an adult about that, or, you know, even just having that ability to go to another adult just eases the, you know, the pressure you have on raising your kids, because it truly takes a village. It takes a lot of people loving on your kids, and a lot of people coming around your kids, and you as a adult as well. But as I watch these kids, because I am in the schools and I watch these kids go through all of it, you can definitely see the impact that adults have that build those relationships. And it's, you know, kids don't always want to go to parents, and that's, you know, that's just human. That's not them disrespecting or wanting to hide. It's just sometimes it's not comfortable to talk to your parents right away. Right. And so having people that will, hopefully eventually, if it gets serious enough, and I know they will, come and say, hey, you know, this is kind of becoming a big deal, but also those people that can guide my children to either A, approach us on it, or B, help them find that solution. It's just, I mean, and Narrate does a beautiful job of that transition from, you know, the nursery to the kids church to the junior high. You know, it's just a very nice transition. And the fact that they, you know, you and Adam last summer, right? Last summer?
Yeah.
Last fall?
It's in the fall, I think. That's very kind of you to say, because I felt like we've struggled to make the jump from kids to, like, they walk into the auditorium on Sunday and we're like, oh, hello. All of a sudden you're in a very different space as a sixth grader. Yep. And I think it's been fun doing those book groups with the sixth graders, because I can see a difference when I walk in. I still can't tell Aurora and Area apart. I, like, have it for a few months, and then I'm like, wait, which one does the short hair? Which one does the gymnastics? I can't remember ever, but I think they mess with me, or they just know. They're like, she has no idea.
Yeah, honestly, they're just so used to it by now. I mean, a lot of people, you know, feel like you do. They're like, I just don't know. And I'm like, just ask them. They are so used to it by now, because unless you are with them on a regular basis, it's legit hard. And I mean, even as their mom, there's times where I'm like standing there and I'm like, okay, I gotta get a little bit closer to make sure I'm gonna call the right child's name. Not because I don't know who my children are, but because in that moment they just look so much alike that I'm like, okay, like, don't want to call the wrong child, so I'm gonna get a little bit closer. But yeah, but that book club, I think, was just a really nice segue. I think it made them feel included. I also think it brought them together as sixth graders, where they realize, oh, we're not the only ones going into this new space. Like, because sometimes I think that's the daunting piece, is you walk in and you can't, like, when you walked into kids' church, you saw your friends right away. But in the big church, it's harder to find those, you know, the other sixth graders and seventh graders, you know. And so I think bringing them together so they kind of see each other and be like, oh, okay, so I'm not the only one. Right. Because here in Helena, I mean, a lot of these kids are at different elementary schools. There's very few that go to the same elementary school. So,
oh, right, yeah.
So then, sense. You know, they really don't, except if they went to the same elementary school, they're not going to know who the other sixth graders are, because they're all spread out. So having that, you know, little book club just kind of lets them see there's other kids going through what we are, where it's like, oh, yeah, we don't get to run around, and we don't get to play foosball, and we don't get to, but we can draw, and we can sit there, and we can listen, and we can sing, and okay, this is a little weird compared to what we've been doing, but I think it helps that transition so much to where it's just, you know, when we go into church and there's occasionally, like, you'll see a group of them kind of try to sit together and
Yeah.
like put their parents like on opposite ends of them. And it's, that's kind of cool to see. It's, not as easy to do, but it definitely happens. And so you can kind of see them picking, oh, well, if we sit here, then we get to sit close to her or him, and so that's a lot of fun to see. And my daughters were 6th graders. And then we had, I don't know if we had any 7th graders, but I know we had a couple 8th graders. And that was a lot of fun too, because those 8th graders would talk to them and say hi to them in the church, which I think is, once again, another connection where it's like, oh, okay, so there are older kids than me that are, this is now their norm. They're okay with it.
Yeah.
So.
That is awesome. I love that. Were you raised in any kind of faith context?
I was. I was raised in a very traditional religious setting, and it was a denomination which felt, and it's what I grew up in, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it was very checkmarky. So you wake up, you do this, checkmark.
Yeah.
It's kind of this list of things you're supposed to do, and I was raised in it, and it was, I had some good times, but looking back, there's a lot in it that in my faith walk I've turned from, just because of the relationships I've built and how I've grown with God. And so I'm no longer that denomination. It was just I don't know, it's really hard to be raised in a church that does a lot of, you should do this, and then there's no example of that. Or, it almost felt like we had to get permission or apologize when we sinned, or it was just a very, very traditional, like, if you sinned, in their mind, if you sinned big enough, then you had to go talk to the pastor, and you had to go talk to the deacons and the elders. And that didn't ever sit right with me. Like, I understood counsel. I understood, hey, we want to, come alongside you, but it almost felt more like a trial than it was a come alongside you.
Okay.
And so growing up in that denomination, there's a lot of fear in me when it came to Christ and came to God and came to my faith walk, because I felt like if I stepped out the wrong way, that, I was going to be, shot down or be punished, and I don't think that was their intention. But for me, it very much came across that way. And it just didn't work. And so when my husband and I moved to Helena from Bozeman, we had to find a new church, and we had to explore denominations, and I didn't want to go back to a traditional denomination. I already had kind of in the back of my mind that I didn't want my girls being raised in an environment where it felt like we had to do this check mark system.
Sure.
And that they, if you sinned, that it was going to be this great big, deal. And don't get me wrong, sinning, you need to repent, you need to, ask forgiveness.
Right.
And I do believe in counsel. I do believe in, hey, you did this, we're going to come alongside of you and help you. But I don't believe in like a punishment piece of it. And so as we were going through and exploring churches, it took us a little while to find a church. And we actually stumbled across Narrate because we lived downtown and it was within walking distance. We were like, hey, we've tried other churches, let's go.
Right.
This one we can walk to. And as soon as we walked in, it was within a couple services, both Aaron and I were like, you know what, this is a good place. My husband is not an extrovert.
Like, very not an extrovert.
Very not an extrovert. I don't know how many people, like I said, we've been in the church for 13 years, and I don't know how many people know much about him. But he feels comfortable being in that position. Like, people still talk to him. It's not like they're aware that he's just that's just who he is, and they're very comfortable with him being that way. And for him, I think that was really welcoming, and where it was like, I don't have to, be an usher, because he's like, I don't want to sit people, like, that's like a nightmare situation for him. Like, hi, let me greet you.
Well, and I think like that is important. I don't want to be I don't ever want to overwhelm someone. That's why when I'm thinking about hospitality, I'm like, okay, read someone's body language. If they're not looking at you, if they are not engaged, like, don't force them to shake your hand. And, like, don't hug them. Goodness.
Yep.
Like, pay attention to what people are needing from you and kind of go from there.
Yeah. And so, like, he's been very comfortable. He's done a few things with Adam. Nice. And he's just, that's just his personality. Like, it's not that he's standoffish or anything. It's just, he's very introverted. Like, he's very comfortable at, like, he can go the whole day, I think, without talking to a person and be perfectly fine and be perfectly happy. That actually might be one of his dream days, is like a whole day without anyone talking to me. So he immediately was like, oh, I can sit in the back. Yep. Oh, people aren't going to approach me unless, I feel comfortable. And then there's me on the flip side who's like, hi, I want to greet you, and I want to say hi, and I want to get to know you. And it was very welcoming to have, those two spaces where it was like, he feels comfortable coming in, sitting down, talking to people, but, having just that space where he doesn't feel like he has to go usher. He does volunteer. We do various things, but he never feels that pressure, which for him is a really good thing. And for me, I'm able to go and usher and do that social piece and be able to go, hi, like, I got that out of my system. I can now go home, and I've, talked to people, and I've been social. And Aaron's like, yep, I talked to one person. I'm good. Okay. But yeah, and it's Narrate's been that space where it's like, he'll get invited to things, and there's no pressure one way or the other. He usually does go, but he always feels like he can say no if it's something he really is not able to do, or just doesn't feel comfortable doing. And so it's...
So is that what it sounds like what initially drew you to Narrate has kind of continued to keep you here, like that value for hospitality and respecting, like, where people are at with, I'm going to say hi to you, or I'm just going to say hey and keep moving.
Yep, that's definitely been a piece of it, just because it's, that respect and that, like you said, just that availability to, if you're not having a good day, you can go and not have a good day, and no one's going to take offense. And we all have that. We all have days where it's like, I'm here because I know I need to be here, but I'm not in a good headspace. And the other side of that is it's just, through all the years we've been there, it's also been very supportive. It's not like you said, people know us. It's, they know my husband, or they may have spoken to my husband, or, they speak to me, or they talk to my girls. But it's also, when I found out I was having twins and all the high risk things going on with it, Narrate without question just came up alongside us. It wasn't, and there was no pressure behind it. It wasn't, they were expecting us to come back and participate in the church or it was just like, hey, we're here to help, and we're going to come alongside you, and we're going to support you how you need to be supported. And then from there, like, there's zero ties, there's zero expectation for you to come back. And that, I think, is unique and rare, at least in my experience, because I feel like a lot of times there feels like there's strings tied, like, oh, the church helped us, so now we have to, go and do all these things for them. And it's, there was nothing. I mean, there was, and I don't even know who did it, but we got a phone call when I was up in Great Falls and the girls were in the NICU and they're getting ready to come home.
Mm-hmm.
And someone in the church volunteered to clean our whole house.
Oh my gosh.
Before the girls came home.
Wow.
I have no idea. They didn't want us to know who they were. They didn't, Sarah at the time just called up and said, hey, I trust them. It's 100%, legit. They're great people, but they just don't want you to know because they just want to stay anonymous. And I was like,
wow.
Oh. She's like, so is there a way I can get keys to your house? And I was like,
can I get into your house?
Can I get into your house now? And it was things like that. And I see it a lot where it's that ownership where you're not expecting anything out of it. It's that just doing something for someone and not wanting the reciprocal, someone to, go back at you with it. It's like, oh, I did this, so now you have to do that. It's, and to this day, we still don't know who did that. We had a meal train that was put together for us where they dropped off food to us, which was amazing. Some people, knocked on the door and said hi. Others just dropped it off and ran away, which, my husband was always like, oh, that's my people. Sweet. I have no idea who that person is, but that's my person right there. And we've seen it, with our girls. We've seen it with the teachers. Like, we'll be out and about, and the girls will recognize someone that was in kids' church with them or one of their leaders, and they'll go say hi. And, it's just this community where people, they come along and they meet you where you're at. And whether or not you're ready to jump fully in, or you already are a believer, or you're not a believer, or you get something out of just being in the building because of how it's built and how and how welcoming it is. And, my girls, they, like I said, they're now in the big church and, they're teenagers, almost teenagers.
Yep. One or both of them always has a book, and I just love it.
They're reading or they're drawing or they're, but no one ever comments on it except for positive. Like, It's like, hey, oh, what are you drawing there? Let me see. Or what are you reading? Or, and, for them, that's, they've even, kind of said, hey, it was really fun for me to show, so-and-so my art or this. And it's just, it is. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, we're going to come alongside you and love you in the moment. And whether you stay or you don't. And that's the other piece is there's never been any pressure to stay. Like, sometimes at least in the church I grew up in, it was like I had to call to unenroll from that church. Like, I had to call and pull my registration. I don't even really know what it's called, but when I was 16 or 17, I went through this class that then made me a member of the church.
Okay.
And so I had to call and be like, yeah, I'm no longer being a part of this. And can you take my name off?
Oh my gosh.
And it was just kind of a weird thought process of, because I kept getting letters from them of hey, when you coming back? And when
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And it's just how they roll. It's just their denomination. It's just how, it's how their doctrine is and everything. But it was, coming to a church where it was people just leave and there's no having to call. And, I can have a different faith journey than yours and it's okay. Or I don't see that way, and have a conversation about it instead of it being, no, this is what it is. And that's the nice part, I feel, especially for Aaron, who's a very logical human, is walking away not being told what to do, but kind of these questions of, okay, where is this landing for you? What is this? And it makes for really good conversations in the car. My girls are hilarious half the time because they're like, yeah, I didn't understand the historical piece of that. And I'm like, didn't expect you to. Did you? So what else did you get from it?
Yeah. There's always something. It feels
always something, but it's never what I expect to come out of it. I leave going, oh yeah, that was really cool, and they're going to catch on to that. No, it's never those pieces. It's these odd little pieces that I don't even think about. Oh yeah, and goes in, I know it's there, but it's not something I hooked into, and then they will be in the car, and it's the one piece that they remember, and I'm like,
That's so cool.
I got, like, there's this whole other part of the sermon, but okay, cool. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
That's awesome. Did you get to go to any of the estuary groups, or did Aaron do any of those?
Was that the
like, you go to someone's house and you're like, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. And then you kind of like talk about whatever the hot topic is. Or...
Yep. So we were actually invited to Adam and Teresa's.
That's right. You were part of like the guinea pig group.
The guinea pig group. One of them. Yep. And so we actually went, and I think that's the other piece that really works well is like in that group we had believers and non-believers, and we had agnostics, and we had just a very nice mixture of different views, and we all left talking and being friendly, and like we got done with the actual like hot topic, and afterwards we ate cake and dessert and stuff like that, but no one left mad, no one left offended. At least I don't think anybody did. At least at the end it didn't seem like anybody was. But it was really nice to have, those conversations and like just hearing where people are. And I mean, they're all people that go to Narrate. And so they're all a mixture of it, of believers, non-believer, and coming together and just talking about these pieces. And I think the topic had to do with beliefs in schools and how far does your belief get to go into someone else's world.
Oh, okay.
And that was a really, I think, really good topic for the group, because it was just, there's a lot of things that, I didn't think about, and as they brought it up, and we were able to discuss it and understand each other more, which is also a piece of Narrate that I really like, is it's not a place where everybody has to think the same. We have core beliefs, and those core beliefs don't change, but we can also, all this outside stuff can be talked about, and people can have differing opinions, and sometimes, they're vastly differing, but, it's a space where people are respectful enough to listen, and you may more than likely you walk away not agreeing, but it's not an angry not agreeing. It's just yep, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
So
that's what I hope, like, there's space for people with different, political persuasions or thoughts on education or anything. I mean, there are only a few hills we have to die on, and then we get to talk about a lot of other things, and it's kind of, I think it's boring if we'd all if we all agreed.
Yeah.
It's way more fun to, like,
and you don't
have a conversation about different points of view.
Well, and you, like I said, there were aspects that were brought in that I was like, like, I hadn't thought about it that way. Especially when it comes to the Bible. Like, I was raised with the Bible. I was raised reading the Bible. I was raised memorizing verses from the Bible. But to talk to people who, were not raised in that, and then they're reading through the Bible, and these questions are popping up, and it's like, oh, yeah, I don't understand that. And I don't understand how there's differing parts in that, and why they wrote it, why, one apostle wrote it this way and one wrote it that way. But it gives us an opportunity to discuss and do research and find things. And the historical background is, so valuable, because it's like, oh, it's a different time. It's written for that time period. And so having the historical background really helps be able to understand more of why things are the way they are in the Bible. And so it's just really nice to have those conversations, because I'm going to be honest, I never really, until I came to Narrate, I never really thought about the history of the Bible. Like, it was just, yep, I read it and I believe it and I move on. But the more I dive into the history of it, and the more I learn about the history of it, the more sense it makes, and the easier it is to apply to my life, because it's like, oh, that's what they meant. It wasn't this, but it was that, because, some of the verses get confusing.
There's a lot of confusing stuff.
There's a lot of confusing stuff. And I think having those conversations with the people that are reading it more critically than I was at the beginning, because, like I said, I was raised with it. When you're kind of raised with it, and they're like, oh, memorize this verse and memorize for me personally, felt like, oh yeah, I've read the Bible. It's, I understand it. And then you talk to people who have read it differently than you, or have the historical context, or have the teaching and the education behind it. Then you go, oh, well, never mind. I did read the Bible. I did not analyze it. And I think those are two very different things. And I think they merge very nicely, because it's like, yeah, I read the Bible, but then there's this other piece where it's like, okay, but you have to understand the historical piece of it. And it's really, especially, like I said, for me being a mom, and me as a Christian, those conversations make me grow, make me look at certain parts of the Bible differently.
Right.
Makes me do my own research to analyze it. Just because, it wasn't anything I was raised was, really the historical piece behind it. It was a lot of the biblical piece, but not like where the history came from within the Bible, and like what was going on while that apostle was writing that piece, like what conditions they were in, what they were doing, how they were living. And that really does put a lot of context into what you're reading, when you're reading letters where a person, is sitting in jail, and you don't realize like what their jails were and what they looked like. And, because you have your view of, oh yeah, well they were in jail, and, but that's not the type of jail that, you think about the 21st century, but that's not the type of jail they were in. It's vastly different. It's very historically different. But you don't think about it until someone kind of points it out, like, oh yeah, but this is what their environment was like. And you're like, oh.
It's like a whole new layer. There's a lot of layers.
There is, and there's...
You can start to dig into.
And Narrate allows you to do that at your own pace. Like, it's not both my girls are still finding who, what their beliefs, how they believe, and questioning things, and they're allowed to do that. But all of these layers, it's really nice for them to kind of see and hear and, kind of be able to piece it together.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
just be a part of their own pace.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes we get into for me personally, like, get into well, they have to buy, there's like a timeline, and there's really not. There's not a timeline to, your beliefs. I mean, hopefully before you, die, but you figure it out. A little bit, not all the way, I mean. not fully. Like, I'm not sitting here going, you have it all figured out, but you kind of, you've, crossed into the, I believe in Jesus, and I believe, him as my Lord and Savior, and you've crossed into that. But, at the same time, like, I love the fact that in Narrate, you get to kind of do that at your own pace. And, we have people being baptized, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and we have, teenagers and 8-year-olds being baptized. And that gap is just really cool to see, because it's like, oh, it's not this time frame. Yeah. It's like, oh,
I think we have babies being baptized, babies being dedicated, and then there's like anyone from like kids to, I don't know how old the oldest person is getting baptized, but like adults, well into adulthood. Like, I think that's so cool.
It is, and to me, that's such a big, I feel like such a big thing. Like, it's like, okay, it shows that, God is going to meet you wherever. And that door is always open. And I feel like that's also a big part of Narrate's culture is, we're going to come alongside you. We do have these core things, but we're also not going to, force you to get baptized. We're not going to, dunk you without your permission, and, or without your parents' permission if you're a minor. And it's, I don't know, it just, for me, that's, that was very freeing, because it was like, because I got rebaptized when my girls were like 3, just because at that point I felt like I had to recommit my life to Christ, because a lot had changed in my faith walk, and it was just one of those where it's like, okay, I need to I need to redo this and recommit, and, and it was really nice in the fact that it was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. It was, we talked through it. We, did all these things around it, and it was just, very nice to, like I said, be baptized again, because I was baptized as a baby, and then went through confirmation. That's the word I was looking for, confirmation at 16. But then from 16 to when I had my kids and I was 28, like, a lot happened, and it was just like, okay, I have to redo this, because it's, I've done a lot.
Sure.
And God showed up in so many ways, and that, from about 18 to 28, that just made me go, yep, gotta recommit. So.
Is there anything when you came in today that you were hoping I would ask you?
No. It's, for me, I was just coming in to, kind of share, where Narrate is and how it's impacted us, and, it's not one layer, it's many layers that go into keeping us there, and it's, it's just, I can't think of any other questions.
Well, thanks for sharing today and just being open and honest about where you're at, and I appreciate you sharing your story. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about Narrate Church, find us online at narratechurch.org.
You can also look us up on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks for listening.